bet.
2.
In modern times, one does not have to look very far to find the evil in the world. It is all over in the news and in the media. More often than not, people remain unscathed of these violent acts that occur on a day-to-day basis. But in August of 1969, the world saw the face of evil through manipulation and slaughter, as Charles Manson brought about what he referred to as his Armageddon. From his unstable childhood to the present day where he's in solitary confinement, Charles Manson's reputation stands for being a notorious criminal. In the first 19 years of his life, they were a foreshadowing of the crimes he would later commit. He was born to a 16-year-old promiscuous alcoholic who was incompetent as a mother. For that reason, he was passed from relative to relative, allowing him to have an unstable childhood. At age 12, he was sent to the Gibalt School for Boys after several crimes of petty theft. He escaped from this school and spent the next 7 years moving around from one reform school to another, committing more crimes, including burglaries, armed robberies, and even sodomy. At age 19, he was released from the schools, was married, and married to a waitress who bore him a son. He was arrested again and sent to prison in California. The next part of his life, he committed more serious crimes through manipulation of others and even pimping and more theft. At age 26, he conned a woman out of $700, got her pregnant, raped her roommate, and then fled to Texas, where he was later arrested and sent to prison. His sentence was for 10 years, and in those 10 years in prison, he began learning more about Scientology and Buddhism and developed an obsession for the Beatles. At the end of his sentence, he didn't want to be released from prison. But after he moved to San Francisco. In San Francisco, he lived in the hippie scene, and he used a bunch of drugs to get his followers to come after him. His followers were mostly weak-willed, naive, and rebellious women. Him and his followers moved to Spahn Ranch, where they continued to steal and scavenge for food. But what Charles Manson is most known for was his sadistic murders. These were a result of his Armageddon prophecy, influenced by the Beatles song, Helter Skelter. He believed that he needed to show African Americans how to rise up and kill all of the white people and overthrow the government so that they could go underground where they would worship and adore him. On August 9th, he showed up with 5 other members of the Mason family at Sharon Tate's house, where he slaughtered her and 5 others, including her unborn child. After they were dead, he had the word pigs smeared in blood on their door. The following night, 6 members of the Mason family showed up at the La Bianca house. Manson had them covered with pillowcases, wrapped with lamp cords, and stabbed to death. Afterwards, the words "rise" and "helter skelter" and "pigs" were written in blood all over their walls. Even the word "war" was carved into Mr. LaBianca's abdomen. After 2 months of investigation, where one dead end led to another, there was a big break in the case. When one of the members of the Manson family, named Susan Atkins, had confessed to a bunkmate in her mental hospital all the details about the murders. What ensued was the longest lasting trial in American history that lasted 9 months. At the end of it, Charles Manson and 4 others were convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to death. But it was ruled unconstitutional by the California Supreme Court to sentence someone to death, so they were all given life in prison instead. So from the troubled life as an infant, which led to the murder of over 7 people in less than 2 days, Charles Manson, who was troubled from the start, brought more evil than most have known, seen, or even heard. He's hell's rival.